Good morning, everybody. I'm coming to you today with your education moment on the spirit of Saul, and that's really important to be aware of when you're in a leadership position or you're striving to be in a leadership position, because the spirit of Saul can fight anything positive that you are trying to do. So the spirit of Saul comes about by having insecurities or fears in your position. So I'm going to read you the scripture from the Bible that talks about Saul. It's from 1 Samuel 18:8. Then Saul was very angry, and the saying displeased him, and he said, "They have ascribed to David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed only thousands. Now what more can he have but the kingdom?" So Saul eyed David from that day forward. So you can see that Saul was jealous and bitter of David, and angry with the people because they saw David as a more fit king and a more fit leader than he was. And so he got jealous, and he was very insecure and fearful of losing his position. So how can you tell if you are a Saul spirit or if you are being led by one? Really, a Saul spirit is cultivated by a lack of physical or spiritual exercise, a feeling of being tired and overwhelmed, and it can reflect in your leadership position. The spirit of Saul would be someone who is always putting everybody else down, who is threatened by another leader's growth, and instead of congratulating and praising that leader, the Saul spirit will put them down. They will always be putting people down and trying to put themselves up above everyone else, no matter what the cost. So when you're dealing with someone who's got the spirit of Saul, and I encourage you to look further into 1 Samuel, specifically chapters 24 and 26 through 26, to read more about Saul. But when you're dealing with the Saul spirit, the best way to handle that sort of person is to serve them unconditionally, no matter what. Remember that it's God that you're serving, really, and not that leader. You also want to walk in meekness, but that doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you have a quiet power, or a power that's under control, and that you know the right time and place to use that power. Putting on the armor of God, which is the sword of the Spirit, faith, righteousness, that you walk in truth, and that you always have the gospel of peace ready to share. The armor of God will always protect you from any wiles of the devil. Then we have just the thought that it's not your job to put that person in their place, but God's job. So don't seek revenge, but just give it to God, pray to God, as you move on in your quiet meekness and humbleness, knowing that God will get the vengeance, and He is the only one who can justly judge everyone. So we leave that up to Him. Another thing is to express your concerns at the appropriate time. So you have to be a good judge of timing, and be sure that when you're sharing your concerns, that you feel it's the best time for that person to be open to hearing those. Now, know that they may not always hear your thoughts and not be ready to receive them, because they are a spirit of control. So it's just a time of discernment. And the next thing is to not to touch them, not to make it your job to take that situation into your own hands, but always leave it up to God, because they are still in a position of authority as a leader, and you don't want to mess with authority, because authority is appointed by God, but God will also be the one to serve justice to that person. You want to resist the temptation to join with other people against that leader. This is a battle that you need to fight on your own and with God, but not bringing other people into the equation to maneuver, manipulate, to show that person where they are lacking. And just know in the end, It's not going to be fun to deal with a Saul spirit. It's not going to be fun to confront them, but know that God's grace is sufficient for you, and with you and God together, you can win the battle, and the Saul spirit will be confronted. And even if it's not confronted in your time, you know that you've handled the situation in a way that honors and glorifies God at the end. So that's all for your spiritual education for the morning. I hope you guys have a great day.